You smell that?
Nature's most powerful aphrodisiac.
Leaving right after this drink. Rock and roll, whiskey, and other stories. With your host, Brian Shaw.
Cheers. And welcome to episode 25 of I'm Leaving Right After This Drink. Rock and roll, whiskey, and other stories. So before we get into tonight's topic, just want to say a quick thanks to everyone who has liked, shared, subscribed, donated, whatever you have done to support my effort here in getting this podcast off the ground, man. I greatly appreciate it. For those of you tuning in for the first time, thank you for tuning in and welcome to somewhat of a show. As you know, I keep things under about 20 minutes sometimes, or not even that long. So just kind of here to tell some stories about my time in the entertainment business and talk about those that I met along the way, seeing shows, hanging out with friends, just life in general, man. So I appreciate you letting me into your world for just a few minutes every couple of weeks or however often I can knock out a podcast. But I thought tonight I would just talk about Ozzy, because today, of course, we heard the news that Ozzy had passed away, July 22nd, 2025. And I think it's even more crazy, and I think more people have been kind of stunned about the whole thing, was because the Back to the Beginning show just happened 17 days ago. Like, that's so wild to think that that was his goal, was to go, man, I want to do one more show just to kind of go out with, I did it, and celebrating everything that was Ozzy and Black Sabbath. He did it. And then today we get the shocking news. And I say shocking because I don't think we were expecting it to happen that quickly. So it's still kind of crazy. And as I'm even sitting here having a drink, talking to you guys about it, it's still wild to think, man, Ozzy's gone, man. Like, so trippy. And I think about, going back to like 1991-ish, something like that, being 13, 14, just kind of getting into music. I don't know how the math adds up, but I was about 13, 14 when I was starting to really get into music. And No More Tears was the album for me, man, that got me into Ozzy. As I liked No Rest for the Wicked, but at that time, I was still kind of being influenced by my older brother and the music he was listening to. So I had a lot of Aerosmith, ZZ Top, some of the hair bands were in there. And then, of course, watching like MTV and all that shit. And so that kind of helped steer me in a musical direction. But man, hearing No More Tears, that album just fucking changed my world, because that was such a kick-ass record. And, of course, the writing on that album was Zach and Lemmy and a host of others that contributed to that record. And it's so wild to even think that, Lemmy wrote like 4 songs on that album, and one of those, Mama, I'm Coming Home. And I'm pretty sure Lemmy even joked, if I remember correctly, and when I read his book, he talked about the fact that he made more money off like the publishing and shit from writing with Ozzy than he ever did in Motorhead. So kind of a wild thing to think about. And, I can remember seeing Ozzy on those No More Tears tours, and seeing him at the Fox Theater in St. Louis. That's kind of wild, because that venue's not huge. And to think we scored tickets, to see Ozzy there. And then we saw him in the Riverport Amphitheater. Like, maybe it was later that summer, maybe it was another year later or so. But it was pretty fucking wild. And I think wasn't that like the No More Tours tour or something like that? Or maybe that was another couple of years down the road. Who really knows at this point? But I can remember seeing him a few times on the No More Tears album. I can remember when I moved to Memphis, Tennessee, and got started in radio and hearing Osmosis and just fucking loving like Perry Mason and I Just Want You and See You on the Other Side, and a host of those songs that we used to play on WMFS. And every time I hear the Osmosis record, I think of my time in Memphis, Tennessee, and I think that was 1996. So pretty crazy, man. And I'm just sitting here today, and I'm just kind of winging it tonight on this podcast about the number of times I saw Ozzy, the number of times I saw Black Sabbath. And it's still kind of, settling in my head, like, holy shit, man, you saw this dude a lot. You saw him in his prime. You saw Sabbath, when they were still kicking ass and stuff like that. So it's just it's pretty fucking wild. And to think about all those albums in between, that I loved. And just even to this day, I still got fucking Ozzy on my fucking phone. And when I go to work or come home and just fucking rock out to fucking Ozzy, man. And, today at work, when I found out the news, I walked in and joked with my coworkers that, hey, I'm going home to mourn because Ozzy just passed away. And, and then I sat down at my desk and just fucking turned on some Ozzy, and just thinking about, like, holy shit, man. Seeing him on the Ozfest in 1997, I think that was like the first Ozfest, and that was like Pantera and Typo Negative and Drain STH, another band that I absolutely fucking love. And if you don't know who Drain STH is, 4 fucking Swedish women who were just kick ass, and they did 2 records. I even think the singer ended up marrying Tony Iommi, if I'm not mistaken, but don't hold me to that. But I always feel like that was what I heard, and I'm not here to start any rumors, but. So, like, I remember going to that in Charlotte, and me and my friend Dan, and we had a fucking blast. I remember leaving, we left and went to fucking, the strip club. We did the whole thing because we were just fucking young and just fucking partying, and it was just good fucking times. And, then, let's see, then was the next Ozfest that I saw, because I know I did a few. I think 2000 was the next one I saw. I had moved to California by that point. Saw him at I think it was the Glen Helen Pavilion at the time. I'm thinking San Bernardino. And at that time, one way in, one way out, even though it was in the middle of the fucking desert. And I'm trying to think of who was on that bill. But I know on the first one, Ozzy and Black Sabbath were on the first one. The one in 2000, I don't think was Ozzy and Black Sabbath. Could have been, but I remember seeing, like, I feel like Black Label was on that fucking tour. Like, just an incredible lineup of fucking bands, especially for me in those first, few Ozfests. But I can remember leaving that fucking Ozfest in San Bernardino, and we didn't get home until like fucking 4:30 in the morning, because it took us until probably like 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning to get out of the parking lot, because there's one way in, one way out. Like, again, even though it's in the middle of the fucking desert, I have no idea what it's like out there now, but at that time, it was a shit show. And I think that kind of made me go, I'm not seeing another Ozfest for a while, because it was hot, it was miserable, even though we were fucking young and stupid and just having a good time. It was kind of like, holy shit. It's taking a lot out of me, because of those first few, you went all day. The lineup was so fucking kick-ass. You got there at 11 a.m. or noon, and you were there for the fucking run of it, man. So when you left at fucking, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, you were like, holy fuck, I'm beat. But yeah, man. And then fast forward a few years later, and, being in Raleigh, North Carolina, I think that was around like 2005. I got to interview Ozzy, which was so much fucking fun. Even though when I listened to the interview, and I honest to God haven't listened to the interview in probably 15 years, but it's on my website if you guys want to check it out, at brianshaw.com, and I'll put a link up here on the screen, and then I'll also put a link in the description that'll link you right to the interviews that are on my website currently. Got a ton more to put up there, but just kind of running behind. Anyhow, this is about Ozzy. And I remember seeing that Ozfest in 05. Went again back to Charlotte, and again, just fucking killer. I think Black Sabbath was on that one. And it's crazy. I mean, it's hard to remember all those bands that were on that show. I think Rob Zombie was a part of that. Like, there's just so many bands, and it just all runs together at a certain point. You're like, was that band on that one, or was it that one? And so just pretty wild. I remember seeing it again in 2006 in Raleigh, and just having a fucking blast. Every time I saw Ozzy was always a great time. It was always a great show. Never left disappointed. And of course, how could you? The talent that ran through Ozzy's bands from the time he went solo all the way until the end was just incredible. Of course, Randy Rhoads, Jakey Lee, Brad Gillis was in there. You had, of course, Zach was in there, Joe Holmes, Rudy Sarzo, Robert Trujillo. I think Jason Newsted was even in Ozzy's solo band for just a brief minute. You had, what was it? Is it Tommy Clufetos, the drummer? You had Mike Borden, like just a fucking crazy fucking lineup. I mentioned Robert Trujillo, like just a crazy lineup of fucking the best of the best. Of course, in Sabbath, how can you deny fucking Tony Iommi, Bill Ward, Geezer Butler, like just fucking crazy. And again, it's hard to think like where would the business of fucking heavy metal be without Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath? So I just kind of wanted to take a few minutes tonight and kind of talk about just how much Ozzy has been a part of our fucking world. And feel free, man, to leave some comments about your thoughts on Ozzy, the shows you've seen. You know, like I can think, I mean, I remember going to a lot of those shows and I got free tickets because of just being in the business. But I remember, man, those tickets were like fucking $40, $50. And we thought that was a lot of money at that time. Now it's, you know, the ticket prices are absolutely insane. But, you know, leave some comments, man. I would love to hear your stories about either meeting Ozzy or just seeing him live, the influence that, you know, that Ozzy had on your life and your world. And, you know, it was like, I never sat down and went, dude, fucking Ozzy, like hit me in a certain way. But he kind of did, right? Because he definitely influenced me to kind of take this path with fucking the music that I listened to, and you know, and listening to similar artists and all that bullshit. Even before there was like social media to tell you who else you should listen to, right? It was all about your fucking friends and be like, dude, you should listen to this band, and you know, all that crazy shit. And it's fucking wild to think about those times, because man, people today have no idea what the fuck it was like to stand in line to buy a fucking ticket, or you know, to talk to other fans while you're standing there waiting in line for the tickets, or you know, waiting in line for the fucking show and all that kind of shit, man. It's just so different now. It's such a different experience. But you know what, man? We need to just fucking cheers to fucking Ozzy Osbourne. And can you imagine, like tonight, I think like Zach Wilde's got to go on stage with Pantera. Like I can't even imagine what the fuck that's going to be like. And like it's just crazy to think about how Ozzy Osbourne was just such a fucking huge influence on everyone, on our music, on our lives, on the fucking business. Absolutely insane. So again, share your stories, share your comments, your likes, what you know, loved about Ozzy, your favorite records, your favorite songs, whatever that may be, man. Please leave them in the comments. Let's have a fucking nice conversation about the fucking man, the Prince of Darkness, the Ozman, and let's fucking do it, man. Cheers to fucking Ozzy Osbourne. Thank you, Ozzy.
Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe. You dig?
God bless the internet.